Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a really interesting unboxing to share with you guys. So this is another of the KB knives. So it's Kooby, but it's their KB line, which is, I guess, their premium line. And I know what's in here. Because I peeked at it and I had to learn a little bit about it before I did this video, which is not normally how I do things, but in this case, I'm really glad that I did because I've got some details to share with you guys. Thanks so much to Kubey for sending this in. This is just an unboxing and first impressions. I'm not reviewing this today, but I will. This is a little more interesting than your standard Kubey. So, it'll be linked down below. You guys can check it out. There's a bunch of different variations. So, this is the KB 258D Kubey. Listen, the codes, nobody's going to remember that. You got to start putting the name of the knife on the box. So that, especially for people like me. But I think that would be much better than the code. But this is apparently called the Vertigo, unless I got it wrong, which would be very embarrassing. But if I'm not mistaken, number one, yeah, that's right. This is actual Timascus. Oh, I have to actually cut it open. Okay. I haven't been all the way into it yet. But this is actual Timascus. Now, if you are, the other thing here I wanted to check, yeah, this is Peter Carey. If you are familiar with Kubey, you'll know that this is not common for them. But we're starting to see Timascus from companies like Artisan Cutlery and a number of others. And truthfully, I'm going to point this out. I'm sure you guys have noticed too. Timascus and its aesthetic varies quite a bit, right? We see lots and lots of crazy colors. And depending on the company, you might get some wild variations. And depending on exactly what it is, right? If it's Mochatai, if it's Zircatai, right? Or some proprietary variation of it. The companies, like between Kubey and Artisan Cutlery specifically, it looks extremely similar. Not bad, just very, very similar. I'm guessing that we have some type of supplier that a lot of these companies are getting the same stuff from. It is 100% legitimately titanium Damascus. It's real, but it does look very, very similar. I mean, this image right here, a lot of people would say that's definitely an Artisan Cutlery, right? So I'm just pointing that out, but the other thing I want to point out here is this is a significant amount of Timascus. I mean, that's a good, it's not just on one side, it's on both sides. So if you're familiar with Kubey's releases in the KB line, they've had price tags that are pretty questionable compared to their competition. We're seeing upper 200s when their competition is in the lower 200s, right? The funny thing about this knife is it's true, but it's also impressive for this specific variation. There are standard variations of this that are not in titanium Damascus, but in special forms of carbon fiber, like your jungle and your kind of 80s looking, some of the newer, crazier stuff. Those are around about $285, which is pretty high. This titanium Damascus variant runs just slightly over $300, which is pretty great. As far as titanium Damascus goes, and generally speaking, when you have a pretty big inlay, especially on both sides, what it usually does to Chinese production knives in terms of the price tag. And when I say that, I mean usually it goes through the roof, right? A lot of times, you see like Wee knives or Riot knives or whoever. And admittedly, a lot of that stuff is a lot more visually impressive, I think. But it's still, I mean, it can't be that much more expensive. So it's kind of cool to see Kubey drop something like this with some exotic materials for not the, nowhere near what I assumed they would charge for it. I was legitimately expecting them to be closer to, if not over, 400. But no. So whoever the supplier is for this stuff, if it is the same, if it's all coming from the same place, they're able to make this, which is pretty good, right? I don't want to reduce it to all Timascus should cost less because Kubey and Artisan Cutlery can put it on their knives and only charge $300 for it. No, this is okay, right? But if you are familiar with titanium Damascus and all of its different, patterns and variations and stuff like that, some of it looks quite a bit better. Some of it is quite a bit more impressive. And I have to imagine that there's more effort going into the creation of some of this stuff, right? The material itself is one thing, how much effort goes into it, how much it costs to create, right? Different variations of it. I don't know. But I know that some of the best looking stuff is definitely going to cost a lot more money. But this is still nice. It definitely looks good. It's got a high polish to it. Nice contrast, some purples, orange, blues, right? Really, really nice. Typical blue Kooby pivot, which actually goes along with the titanium Damascus, given that the majority of the color in this stuff is blue. So we have the thumb studs, we got the pivot, right? And then we have some flat titanium scales. We've got a Peter Carey. I've never actually I don't know if this is based on one of his customs, though. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said though. I don't know if this is based on one of his customs. But it is a production Peter Carey. It's got a nice compact design with an open ergonomic profile. Honestly, no part of... I think for now, what I'm going to do is leave that there until I decide to actually carry it. Because I will carry this and use it before I review it. But you know what? This is actually pretty nice. Whoops, I got my finger in the way. Hold on. Let's give that a good... Yeah. So the D10 on this feels really great. Nice and clicky. Very good access to the thumb studs. In my experience, the Peter Carey designs that I have handled in the past have all been really, really nice. So we have a nice thumb ramp there. A little place for you to rest your thumb if you want to. This blade is CPM S35VN. I know a lot of people are bored of seeing CPM S35VN in this territory. And it's something that needs to be pointed out. S35VN is not a steel that does not belong in this territory. The reason you hear people complain about it is because we have been seeing it here for years. It is still factually a super steel. It is still factually an expensive steel, especially when it is heat treated correctly. And to my surprise, on Kubey's website, they have this listed at 60 to 62. So if you're newer and you're hearing people complain about steels like S35VN or M390 or whatever, yeah, those steels have been around for an incredibly long period of time. Same with like S30V, right? That doesn't mean that they're bad versus modern steels. It just means that those were the old flavors of the month, and we have new flavors of the month. And there are different elements, right? If you look at steel composition and performance as a multi-directional teeter-totter, we have newer steels that some people might argue, like if you throw MagnaCut in there, some people would argue are definitely more geared towards the the modern knife enthusiast. Might have elements that cater more directly to us, considering, the designs that we've all kind of figured out, work really, really well for EDC. Could make an argument that's definitely a lot more expensive steel, but that doesn't mean that all of a sudden steels like S35VN magically become hyper inexpensive and belong solely in the budget territory of the sub $100 territory. I've heard arguments about that. There's a bunch of different factors that will allow those steels sometimes to fall down into that price range. And a lot of it has to do with the total cost that goes into the entirety of the knife. So in some cases, you might see S35VN on a build that has a lot less complicated elements to it or a lot less expensive elements to it, and perhaps the heat treatment is a little bit subpar. If they make a bajillion of those things, then yeah, you might actually see that fall under $100 periodically. But not all the time, right? This guy was heat treated 60 to 62, and considering we're looking at titanium, premium manufacturing, Timascus on both sides, I want to make sure that people understand that it does absolutely, in my opinion, still belong in this territory. In fact, you will still see hyper expensive knives utilizing S35VN because it really comes down to the purpose of the design and the whole idea behind it, how it was made, who's making it. There's so many other elements than the material alone. But there are many, many blade steels that can exist in many, many, many different price points. And then there are definitely blade steel compositions that are truly outdated and very inexpensive, like your HCR 13 MOVs, right? Or gosh, your whatever the junk steel is, a 420J. You don't want to see that, in a wide variety of different price points. But S35VN, I feel like here within the last year or two has been getting a bad rap. And I think a lot of it is due to people not completely understanding. So if you're new, don't shy away from S35VN. It's actually one of the best user steels out there. I mean, legitimately to this day, S35VN is an absolutely wonderful user steel. It's very, very friendly. Definitely a high performance steel, especially, on something like this with this blade geometry, heat treated 60 to 62. That's really, really good. So, it's been a bit since I was impressed by anything that Kooby did. Even like with their budget stuff, because a lot of their steel, like they went to like Aus 10, which is okay, right? Their budget design's pretty cool, right? But some of their prices and just versus the competition, Kooby really hasn't been standing out to me lately. And their premium stuff has been very ho-hum. This is a little bit more interesting. I'm not saying it's like blowing my doors off or anything, but it is definitely more interesting. And the Peter Carey design, element here, I mean, it's obviously a really, really nice design. But that element's definitely helping out a little bit. So anyways, I don't know why I decided to talk about S35VN today. I was surprised to see that they hit it so high. That's cool. I think a lot of people like that. The overall length of this guy's coming in at about 7 1/4. So think Spyderco Para 3. Blade length is coming in at about 3 1/8. Cutting edge is coming in at about 2.75, thanks to an enlarged sharpening choil. I wouldn't really call that a finger choil, but definitely an enlarged sharpening choil. Plenty of access to the lock bar, too. Nice lock bar insert. Honestly, really nice. When Kooby tries, they definitely can make a really nice knife. Let's go ahead. Sorry, I've got my size comparison knives over here in the NAF's burrito that's not opened up. So let's put it up against a few familiar faces. The Benchmade Griptilianer, in this case, the Ritter Hogue. Here it is up against the Para 3 that it shares a very similar size with. The 80 20.5. Let's put it up against the Ontario Rat Model 2. How about the Hogue Deca? And where's the Bug Out? There it is right there. Bug Out. What would be another good one? The Vision FG. I feel like this is a knife that we're just going to keep seeing over and over and over again. Here it is up against the Pyrite. Just kind of pulling stuff out. And we can end with the Spyderco PM2. All right. Oh, we should probably also weigh it, huh? Okay. Weight on this guy is on. Weight on this guy is coming in at 4.1 ounces. Not bad. Honestly, this is... I don't love the price on their standard versions, but, if you're into Timascus, it's not a bad price. It's pretty good. The titanium is definitely contoured. You have a full tie backspacer, titanium pocket clip. No love for lefties. Bummer, right? Kind of wish there was a higher polish on the blade, but no big deal. It's a nice tumbled finish. Okay, cool. Interesting knife from Kooby. That's going to be pretty much it today, guys. Link for this guy down in the description and Kooby knives in general. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at _metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.